We're off and running here, Roob. Free agency is here.
No, it's not free agency, David. It's the legal tampering period.
It's free agency. Deals are getting done. The Eagles have lost a couple players. They're bringing a key player back. This is our first podcast of, we'll see how many this week. I don't know how
many.
Multiple. Yeah. This is the Eagle Podcast. He's Roob and Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. We'll get to the guys the Eagles are losing, at least the ones we know of so far, as we record this on Monday at 4 p.m. So things could change.
And will.
And will, for sure. But one thing we know is Jason Kelce is coming back, and that's good news.
Yeah, on a day where they lost a couple key defensive guys, getting Jason Kelce back is enormous, and for so many reasons. And for purely selfish reasons, I just like having the guy around. He's a great guy to just hang out with in the back of the locker room. We've been having our what's a deli, what's a diner conversation all year. Now I can continue that for another year. I probably could have, even if he hadn't returned. But yeah, look,
I think he factored that in.
Well, if it was Vinny Curry, he probably would have. Vinny stayed because of the media. We know that. But yeah, I mean, look, he's still at the top of his game. He's the best center in the league. And, it's kind of like it's such a relief. I'm sure for Nick, for Howie, just because how much he means to that locker room, to that offensive line, to this team. Yeah, I honestly thought it was going the other way. That was my gut feeling. But it's certainly good news.
Yeah. I thought he'd be back. And
you did.
Yeah, not very surprised that he's back. You're trying to figure out, like, you're getting in his head a little bit, and you're like, well, he stayed relatively healthy last year, still playing at a really high level. He sees that this team likely has a bright future. Now we'll see if they take a step back this year with all the players are losing, but you have the quarterback in place. It made sense for him to come back. And look, It doesn't, he can say, I just don't want to do it anymore. And that would make sense too for him. But I thought there were enough things lined up that, I get why he's coming back.
Yeah. I mean, the way he framed it was when he didn't feel like playing anymore, he wasn't going to play anymore. And that was the only thing that was going to, like, the external things that we take into account, he not necessarily did. But I just thought, look, he's got another kid he was just born, I think his third child. He's obviously got other interests outside football. He's played a lot of football. He's been to 2 Super Bowls now and won one. What are the odds he gets to another one? Maybe he does. Wouldn't put it past him and this team. But I was wrong about this one. I went with my gut feeling, and I'm glad I was wrong.
Yeah. We'll see. People keep asking about the numbers. I haven't seen them anywhere. I don't have them. Don't know what it'll look like. I mean, the nice thing here is that he's not playing anywhere else. They're going to be respectful of Jason Kelce, and he's going to be respectful of them. They basically have until June to really figure it out.
Yeah, and even though legal tampering, free agents can't sign until Wednesday, he could sign today because they got exclusive negotiating rights. But the number, it's not like other contracts. And look, they'll find a number that's fair for him, that works in their cap, which won't be easy because, look, I mean, he's one of the best players in the league. It won't be a hometown discount, but it won't be what he could have, gotten on the open market either.
Yeah. And the nice thing with, like, a guy like him is that you have until June to figure it out on the books because there are other things cap-wise you want to take care of first.
Sure. Yeah. So, and, you look at the O-line, and obviously they were going to lose Sayamalo either way, whether Jason came back or not. But you go,
well,
most likely.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think he was coming back, but now it's definite, and we know that. I mean, because you go Mulata, Dickerson, Kelce, Cam Jurgens, and Lane Johnson left to right, and you got one heck of an offensive line. And I like Sayamalo, and he played really well. And we don't know if Jurgens can play right guard, but I'd be surprised if he can't, just based on what I've seen from him in training camp and his power and quickness and intelligence. Eventually, we all know he'll take over for Jason, but it's good that he's not going to he's not going to redshirt another year. You draft a guy in the second round, you want him out on the field year 2. So can't wait to see what they get from him at guard. He's got 2 like borderline, a Hall of Famer and a borderline Hall of Famer on each side of him. So he's in a great situation as far as learning from the best, and they'll tell him exactly how to handle different things. And this is still going to be one of the best O-lines in football.
It should be. They'll probably lose some depth here because Jurgens won't be a backup. They'll probably lose Dillard, but you feel pretty good about that starting 5. I think Cam Jurgens has the potential to be a pretty good guard.
Yeah.
Now, he got a little behind in training camp last year because Kelce got hurt, and then you had
that surgery.
Yeah, so you had Jurgens taking all the first-team reps at center, and that kind of put him behind a little bit. He didn't really start repping guard until the season began, so he's a little behind there. Luckily, they didn't really need him to play at all as a rookie, but I'd imagine he's going to play a lot in year 2.
Yeah, I would think. And he told us, I guess it was locker clean-out day, that he started taking guard reps pretty early in the season. A few here, a few there, mainly at walkthrough.
Yeah.
And
they got him some at walkthrough in training camp.
Yeah.
Before
right? That's right. Nick said that. Yeah. So he won't be going in cold. Look, he can handle guard. So yeah, I think he'll be pretty good, and he might be so good. It might be like a Lane Johnson thing. Remember, he was going to go to left tackle eventually. He might be such a good guard. They end up keeping him at right guard. Who knows? But the O-line's in good hands. Really, the whole offense. All these losses are going to be on defense, other than the running back. But I mean, they've got Devontae and AJ. They've got Jalen Hurts, who's one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the game. They've got Kelce, a Hall of Fame center back. The whole O-line is just 5 really, really good players. This is going to be, a big time offense. No matter what happens on the other side of the field, they on the other side of the ball, they might need to be.
That's the thing. I mean, that they were such a balanced team in 2022. They're probably not going to have that luxury in 23. I mean, the roster they put together last year, I mean, unlike really any roster we've seen before. And it's going to be hard to duplicate that. So you're like, all right, well, how do you make up for it? And we've seen it in like Kansas City, right? Where their defense hasn't always been great, but they have this great offense to lead the team. That's what they're going to need from their offense in the next few years.
Yeah. And they're going to need, whether it's Nakobe, Zach McPherson, whoever ends up being Jordan Davis, they're going to need all those guys and some guys they haven't drafted yet to make a difference, or whether it's Kayvon or Davion. They're going to need some of their younger defensive players, multiple ones, to play a lot of snaps at a high level.
Haven't heard a Davion reference in a while.
And I'm just throwing just a 4th round pick a few years ago, just those kind of guys, maybe not him specifically. Although I wouldn't mind it because he's a good quote.
He is a good quote. 3rd round pick. He was
a 3rd round pick. Kayvon was a 4.
103.
Yeah.
But I think having Kelce back's a big deal. Because like you meant, like the offense needs to be that juggernaut, and he's still playing at such a high level. It's amazing to watch him last year at 34, just getting out in front and being like a weapon for that offense. There aren't many guys who do it at any age at that position, and to see him do it in year 12 last year, unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, I told you what Stout told me Super Bowl week. He said it was the best year he's ever had. And he just keeps working so hard on his technique. He's such a technician of the game. And Jason Kelce's not going to play this game unless he's still getting better, And I mean, it's really incredible to see. To be at that level, he was already the best center in the league. To be at that level and then have your best year ever and improve your technique and become even more dominating. I've said this before, but I mean, you talk about the greatest Eagles in history, and he's up there with Bednarik, Van Buren, and Reggie White and Brian Dawkins, and that's the level he's at. He might be the greatest Eagle ever by the time he's done.
Okay, I don't have an argument for that. It's tough. I don't think he will be, but yeah, I mean, he's on a pretty short list.
Yeah, I mean, those 5 you could throw, Pete Pihos in there, and Donovan. You could throw in, You know, I mean, there's a very short list of people.
Yeah.
But
I think
Al Wistert.
The amazing thing about Kelce, and you look back at him, is like being undersized. Like obviously, he changed the position. There weren't guys his size playing it, but because of his size or lack of his size, it really forced him to focus on technique and angles, and understanding leverage, and all those things. Like he's perfected now. It's like watching a master, at his craft every day. And I think that's why Stoutland loves him so much, is that attention to detail. I'm sure that's part of the reason Nick Sirianni loves him. Any coach would love him so much, is because he has that stuff figured out, but they're trying to figure it out more and more as they go, which is fun to watch.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, he's such a good influence on the younger O linemen, whether it's Juergens or Dickerson.
Malo at one point.
Yeah, I mean, everybody at one point was young around him. I'm sure Sam Malo, wherever he signs, if he does a press conference, which he might not, we'll talk about how much playing next to Jason Kelce, first on the left side, then on the right side, meant to him. I mean, every guy who is in that room feels the same way about him. He's a living legend, and he's humble, and he's funny, and he's smart. And his podcast is better than ours. And no, ours is a little better, but I'm glad he's back. It's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. You joked about Juergens maybe never leaving right guard. I mean, Isaac was drafted to be his replacement.
Yes, he was.
And, you know, people thought Kelce was kind of out the door at one point.
Yeah.
It's kind of an underreported or under-talked about thing in his career. Like, he's just folk hero now, and he's like, you're talking about him as maybe one of the greatest Eagles of all time. He was almost getting pushed out of the door for a while there.
Yeah.
And like the second act of his career has been unbelievable.
Yeah, that's true. I forget which year it was. He had a pretty uncharacteristic year for him. And boy, was it
15?
I think it might have been. He didn't make a Pro Bowl till his 5th year, I think. I mean, as a 6th-round pick. That's the thing. The guy was a 6th-round pick. Crying out loud. He's got to be the greatest 6th-round pick. We made it his 4th year. I believe it was 15. I think that's correct.
Yeah, so I mean, it's funny to think now that he was kind of being forced out the door, and now he's an all-timer.
Yeah, not to the extent of Brandon Graham, obviously, but what makes these guys even bigger legends is what they overcame. Both of them really faced with pivotal points in their career. They just kept working and made themselves better players.
He's such a freak, but can they expect the same level of play? Like at a certain point, you know, Father Time, undefeated, and all that. Like, do you think we'll see any regression this year? It's really hard to say. We haven't seen it yet.
I'd be surprised, only because I think if Jason sensed that it was possible, he wouldn't come back. Now, you don't always know as a player. You don't, but I think in those moments of honesty with yourself, if you're not as good as you know, some guys will keep coming back because of the money. He won't do that. I think if he has any sense that he's not going to be the same player, but yeah, you don't know that. Some of that is just, we've seen guys just show up and they're just not the same player as they were the year before. So, but I think of him as like a Superman. I can't picture him not being the Jason Kelce we've gotten used to seeing.
Yeah, happens to everyone though at some point if they keep playing. Yeah. How much do you think Jalen influenced his decision? Just that guy being there.
Yeah, it had to be huge. And they're really close. They've gotten so close, and there's such a symbiotic relationship there. And they're so different, but they're both like so wise in their own way. But they both have that same approach to the game. I mean, they're both hardcore perfectionists. So I think Jalen probably sees a little of himself in Kelce. But I mean, you got a 24-year-old kid who's one of the best quarterbacks in football. It's got to make it easier to come back than if he had. No, I don't want to mention any names, but
we get it.
Yeah, you get it.
Anything else on Kelce?
No, I'm just, for selfish reasons, I'm glad he's back.
Yeah, I think the whole city feels that way. And I think even from a football perspective, like you could try to argue that it'd be better for the team to move on and get Cam Jurgens and get that money. But you want Jason Kelce around as long as he's playing at that level.
And that's the thing about BG and Kelce. I mean, they've brought back 2 guys. They're both in their mid-30s, but they're both still really good players, and that's the important thing. This isn't
It's not charity here.
It's not. It's not. And I mean, I think people just need to understand this guy was a 6th-round pick. I mean, 6th-round picks don't make the team most of the time. So for him to go from that to where he is now, I mean, he's a flat-out, might be the most popular athlete in the city's history.
He's up there.
I mean, because so many of the great athletes in Philly history were divisive. Barkley, Iverson. A lot of people
not Doc.
Not Doc. Not many who, I mean, Mike Schmidt, was divisive. Steve Carlton, the greatest athletes in Philly history.
Noah Togoa.
Divisive, yeah. A lot of people didn't like Noah, but you'll never find anyone say anything negative about Doc or Kelce, and it's a really short list.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the guys who left.
Yeah.
Or who are leaving. The biggest, it was funny, one of the first names in the NFL was TJ Edwards. We'll get back to him in a second because the bigger one ended up being Javon Hargrave going to the 49ers on a massive deal. 4 years, $84 million.
Yeah, and a pretty good little rivalry brewing between those two teams after the NFC Championship game, and the Hassan Reddick hit on Purdy that knocked him out of the game, and forced him to have surgery that he just had, and the Niners cried a little bit. They're
still doing it.
Yeah, so for him to go over there and already have a hell of a defense. It's going to only add to that rivalry. I mean, they're the top 2, they're the 2 betting favorites to go to the Super Bowl, represent the NFC. Niners a little better than the Eagles. So you're talking about the 2 best teams in the conference, and he's jumping from one to the other. It's a great deal for him. I'm happy for him. The Eagles never, that was one kind of, they're just never in play. They can't, you can't, $21 million a year.
I think it was probably around 17, 18 was the ceiling of what the Eagles could do.
Yeah. And that might have hamstrung what else they could have done.
Mm-hmm.
I know people are like, well, you don't want to spend, a lot of people on my Twitter were like, you don't want to spend $21 million on a 30-year-old guy. In general, I think that's true. I think interior linemen can play into their 30s, well into their 30s at a high level. We'll see about.
We've talked about Fletcher not being the same player. By the end of this contract, Hargrave will be older than Fletcher now.
Yeah, no, it's true, and there's a little risk factor there because of his age. He is coming off the best year of his career, and the previous year was the best year till then of his career at 29 and 30. But yeah, there's a big difference between 33 and 29. But they've got a lot of talent on defense. My goodness, that front is loaded.
Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner now are like, yeah, we'll play behind that guy.
Imagine being a linebacker playing behind that line. Just run around and make plays and don't worry about anything else. So somebody tweeted to me and said, is he going to play quarterback for them, which is pretty funny. I like that. But it's good. Good little rivalry outside the division. Most rivalries are inside the division. But
I like that. And both teams should be good again next year.
Yeah.
Wouldn't rule out a big playoff game.
Yeah, absolutely. So
tell you what, if Trey Lance is any good, which I don't know if he is, that 49ers team is stacked still.
Yeah, they are. They are. So good for him. It's funny because he ended up making, what did he sign for here? 3 years, 39?
39, so $13 million a year.
Yeah, which
is good money, but
goes up to almost doubles it.
Yeah, honestly, that's one of we were talking about the best free agent signings of Howie's tenure. This one to me is sneaky good because they had to project him in a defense that was very different than the one he got to play in Pittsburgh. He was two-gapping in Pittsburgh. He didn't get a chance to get upfield and get after the quarterback. So they had to watch him and be like, no, he can do that. We have, and like to put him in Jim Schwartz's system, that's what you're saying. You're saying get up the field, go after the passer. There's a running back on the way, take him down. And it was very good pro scouting on the Eagles' part. And I guess college scouting, because they scouted him out of South Carolina State, I think. Yeah. So like good scouting overall by the Eagles to realize he had the skill set that was not being utilized in Pittsburgh for what their defense did. And then to say, all right, no, we feel comfortable paying this guy $13 million a year, which ended up being quite a bargain.
Yeah.
And that was on the heels of them getting burnt by the Malik Jackson contract,
Right.
3 years, $30 million. So they paid more for Hargrave after that blew up in their face, and they weren't gun shy about it. Ended up being a really big steal.
Yeah, no question about it. And and we'll see if the same's true for the 49ers.
Yeah. It's a lot more to live up to. 21 a year.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to be a Pro Bowl player.
Mm-hmm.
He should have been last year.
Yeah, I mean, 11 sacks.
Yeah. Had the fourth most sacks of any interior lineman in his 3 years playing in Philly.
Wow. Yeah, he was a very good player here. They're going to miss him. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some guys, they lose. You're like, well, they're loaded there. They're not loaded there.
No, especially if Fletcher leaves.
Yeah.
Which is very possible. Now you're left with, well, I want to talk about some of the other guys who have to step up, but like now you're left with some really young players. And even if you draft one, like now you're relying on, at a position where you were so deep and so veteran heavy, now it's very young. And that could be good, but there could be some growing pains.
Yeah, and like I think you said last week, I mean, they as much as I like Milton, and Milton will get you a few sacks and just on effort, he's such a high effort player. And Jordan Davis, I don't think he hasn't scratched the surface of what he's going to be. But Fletcher and Hargrave combined for 18 and a half sacks last year. Milton and Jordan Davis aren't going to, that's not really what their game is.
Especially not Jordan. That's not.
Yeah, I mean, he might get one or two just on effort, but somebody, runs the quarterback into him. But that's not a knock on him. It's just not what his game is. Milton will get a few, but yeah, they're, for a team that loves to, and we haven't, there's a new defensive coordinator, so who knows, but they've always loved that pressure from the inside, mainly because they've had good players who can do it. And I wonder if this makes bringing Fletcher back more likely.
That was my thought process when we did our 5 most likely, was that they get priced out of Javon. I think I had Kelce 1, BG 2, Boston Scott 3, Fletcher 4, CJ 5. I'm still in the running.
Yeah, you are.
You're out.
I'm out.
You're out. You had TJ.
Yeah, but I could still get 4 out of 5. And
no, I'm saying I'm in play to get perfect.
Oh, yeah, but I'm still in play to get it hot.
Sure.
More. Okay, anyway.
Sure. But you can't get your number 1.
You're not competitive or anything.
If we're waiting them.
All right.
But TJ gets a deal with the Bears, 3 years, $19.5 million. So under where we thought TJ would be, just $12 million guaranteed. I mean, there was talk about him getting double digits per year.
I thought I might get 8.
Yeah, I mean, this is a low figure. Now he does get to go home and he's from the suburbs of Chicago. So that's
not really suburbs, like an hour north. I guess that's suburbs.
Yeah.
It depends how fast you drive.
Is there a specific time frame?
Well,
from the city that you
me, it takes me an hour to get. I live an hour away from here, but
you don't consider yourself the Philly suburb?
I do, but it's only an hour because 95 sucks.
Okay.
But if I lived an hour and it was like in the middle of the night, you can get to Allentown in an hour, but I don't consider Allentown a suburb of Philly.
Okay.
And where he's from is it's like 60 miles from Chicago.
So it's not a suburb?
I don't think it is.
I think it is. I don't know if you can just have a cutoff point for suburbs.
Sure you can. Yeah, there's like the metro area demographic.
So like people from like Salem County in New Jersey are just rural New Jerseyans?
I don't think people that live, say, in Piles Grove Township in Salem County consider themselves a suburb of Philly. No.
Interesting.
Yeah. I would think suburbs of Philly goes down to maybe Glassboro.
Well, Glassboro is pretty close.
I don't know. Like, what's the next town south of Glassboro? Clayton?
Okay.
Maybe Clayton. Maybe Clayton's the lower limit. Franklinville is not a suburb. Clayton is. Going the other way.
I think
And a lot of it has to do with access. Like just
so. I think of sports team rooting interests and where they kind of wane.
well, I mean, it's not like there's another team if you go into Cumberland County.
That's my point.
But like if you go north, like I think once you get across 195, they're all Giants fans.
Yeah.
But
Which is where it
it's
ends.
actually closer geographically to where we are to Philly, to the sports complex, than like deep Cumberland County or like Cape May. But they're assume they're Eagles fans. Yeah. Anyway.
TJ Edwards.
Oh yeah. Suburbs.
Big deal. Trent Edwards too. They just signed
Yeah.
Edmonds. Edwards and Edmonds.
Yeah. LaShawn or Deshaun.
Yeah. They just signed him for 4 years, $72 million. So they're just revamping. They had a ton of money.
Yeah.
They had like $75 million in cap space. So they're using it.
Did it surprise you that TJ signed so quickly? Like he signed like quarter after 12, not signed, but agreed to terms.
Oh.
And to get $6 million plus.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be when I heard it was so quick. I thought, oh, TJ
cleaned up,
did pretty well for himself. Not the case apparently.
And I thought if it was that low, that the Eagles might have been involved in that.
Maybe he wanted to go home.
Maybe he wanted to
go home.
There are other
factors. It's always amazing to me that something like discount other factors.
Right.
Yeah, like I would want to play for my hometown team. I think I'd want to go home and like be with family and friends. Like
it's a huge factor for Hassan.
Yeah, like I think that would be I always think about that. Like if I were a professional athlete and the money is somewhat comparable, I'd really kind of go that direction.
Yeah, I mean it's like, if you're from Philly or from the suburbs of Philly, which you are, I don't know. Is that
I don't know.
Yeah. Would you rather work for
but...
NBC Sports Philadelphia or NBC Sports, Des Moines?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
money's comparable.
If the money's comparable, I'll never leave Philly. I decided that pretty early on. I just like it here.
Yeah,
I'd never want to live anywhere else.
I get that.
So yeah, but I was a little surprised the money was that low, that he signed so quickly, and that the Eagles weren't involved. But we'll see what they have in store. But that's two key starters on defense. Look, we knew this was going to happen. I thought there was a chance TJ
won't be the last two to leave.
Won't be the last two. But yeah, good luck to TJ. And look, it's a loss. But again, they don't have a lot at that position. But he's replaceable. Mm-hmm. He's not a superstar.
He's a nice player. He's not a player where you go, gosh, how are they going to move on without? He's not that player.
Right. He's a step above Alex Singleton. You look, they have a draft. They're probably not going to draft a linebacker real high. They don't seem to do that unless you want Mike. What was his name? Mike McCoy or Quentin Caver. What about the guys who are on the roster? Nakobe, you mentioned Christian Ellis, who kind of showed some flashes.
Yeah. Nakobe's the obvious one. Like he's going to start.
He's going to start.
You would think,
he
right? Like,
yeah,
he's going to start at the mic.
And we're assuming Kaiser won't be back.
Well, that's the other part of this. When you look at, I wrote about this over the weekend, but you have like the A tier free agents, and then a lot of them have a B tier counterpart. So you have like Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox. You have CJ Gardner-Johnson, Marcus Epps. You have Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, and then you have TJ Edwards, Kaiser White. Do you think it's any more likely that either Kaiser or Fletcher Cox are back because the other two, like the A tier guys, have gone elsewhere?
I think it is with Fletcher. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Kaiser. I'm not sure. Don't know.
It is also tough because you have a new defensive coordinator and you're trying to you don't even know exactly how that's going to work.
Kaiser played well in the postseason. I don't think he had a great year. He was up and down. Kind of came on late in the season. Started off hot. I guess it would depend on the money. He's okay.
I wouldn't hate him at the will if you have Nakobe as your starting Mike linebacker, and you'd probably leave Nakobe on the field when you go to like a dime package and you have one linebacker out there.
Or Nakobe was born for the green dot,
Seems that way.
Yeah. He was born for the Green Dot. So
I think a pairing of Nakobe and Kaiser, to me, always made more sense than a pairing of TJ and Nakobe.
That's a good point. That's a fair point. So we'll see. And Kaiser is not going to cost as much as TJ. Get him for
probably bring him back on a 1-year deal.
Yeah,
if you need to.
Yeah,
and you don't have to rush to do it.
No,
you maybe even wait until after the draft. I don't know how long he'll be available, but
interesting. Yeah, that's a good point.
And then Fletcher. Any more likely that Javon's gone?
Yeah, like I do think it is more likely. That's going to depend on the money. You're not going to give him another $14 million.
Yeah.
And I just wonder what Fletcher's mindset is right now, as far as, when he spoke this year, he still believes he's an elite player. At least that's what he expressed to us.
Yeah.
He's not. He's still a good player. He's still a functional player. I wouldn't mind him on my team. I just am a little wary of what he's going to be asking for. But if he doesn't get it anywhere, come running back to Howie.
Yeah. I could see it. I still think it's probably more likely he's gone. But the longer he's available from now, this is the point. Like, the longer a player becomes available that you might want back, the more likely it becomes that he comes back.
Say that again. I have no idea what you just said.
You know what I mean.
No, I really don't, actually.
The longer a player is available from here on out, the more likely it is that they return.
Right. That's true. It was just too many words for me.
There was a lot of words. I got them all out. I don't know if it made sense.
It does make sense.
All right. Catch all the sports action and more at Rivers Casino, Philadelphia. Whether it's the money line or the pass line, there's something for everyone in a great sports book. Rivers Casino, Philadelphia. Philly loves a winner. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay, Roob, we've been watching around the rest of the league and trying to figure out exactly what's going on. We're still waiting on Aaron Rodgers. I haven't seen anything yet. It's everyone says it's done and it's not done. Is he going to the Jets? Is he not going to the Jets?
Guys on the Jets are tweeting, "Welcome to Florham Park."
Do you think that's just like let's just tell him he agreed to come here and see if he gets fooled?
Tweet it into existence.
Yeah.
Maybe they know something we don't know, but it's a weird situation. It's a little tricky situation for Joe Douglas and the Jets.
All their eggs are in that basket.
They sure are. Meanwhile, Garoppolo goes to the Raiders, and Derek Carr's gone. He's off the market. There's not that many good quarterbacks. So I don't.
Jimmy G got a decent deal.
He did. He got a lot of money.
Yeah, 3 years, $67.5 million.
I like Jimmy G more than you do.
I think it's a downgrade from Carr.
I think they're pretty equal. Jimmy G he's played really well in the playoffs. Look up Derek Carr. Derek Carr 63 and 79. Well, he was on some really bad teams. I mean, Garoppolo wins everything. Derek Carr's never won a playoff game. I'll take Jimmy G over Derek Carr. He's won 4 playoff games. He's played in Super Bowl.
Who you give me QB wins over there? Carr's a better player.
They're the same age. They're both 31.
Yeah.
Carr's older. He's like 6 months older. I like Jimmy G more, but I think they're close.
Okay.
Yeah, but I like Carr. But it's surprising that he's just looking here. He's played, how many years has he been in the league? He was 14. He came in. Let's see, second round pick in 2014. So 9 years. Made the playoffs once. Look, the Raiders usually stink. Never thrown 30 touchdowns. Well, he did in 15. Hasn't thrown a ton of touchdowns.
Okay. 217
in 9 years. I'll take Jimmy G. A lot of interceptions. 28 the last 2 years.
Yeah, I'll take Carr. This is some news here, though, as we're doing this. Jesse Bates going to the Falcons.
Okay.
4 years, $64 million.
Wow.
So $16 million a year. If CJGJ comes close to that, he's gone.
That's Jesse Bates 3, by the way. Jesse Bates the third.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. And
but it's also one less safety needy team looking.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a lot more than I thought.
Yeah. He's a little better than Chauncey.
Sure, he's better and he's played the position longer.
Yeah.
That's a bigger deal than I expected, though. And we'll see exactly what is guaranteed and all that. But that's a lot. And if CJ is going to get 14, he's probably gone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would think so.
Where's the cutoff?
12? I thought the cutoff, I was going to say 11. Maybe you get to 12. That's the thing about Kelce. I mean, we don't know the numbers. There might not be numbers yet, but it's going to be a significant amount of money. You'd rather have him back, but it does affect what they're going to be able to do.
Sure.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And safeties.
I'm a little surprised by that.
Safeties don't make a lot of money. Now they do.
16 mil. I mean, if CJ is reading that, I mean, he probably is like, I 17, but but his agent will be like, no, well, maybe not that, but
that might get him to 13 and a half or 14.
Yeah. And that would be, I would think, out of the Eagles' range.
I would think
as much as they want to bring him back.
Yeah. I don't know how they could do that.
Wow. That's a lot. Okay.
High tide raises all ships.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Eagles need a backup quarterback. Whew.
Mike White's off the market.
I mean, Mike White, 2 years, 16 mil. Jared Stidham, 2 years, 10 mil. Did you say there were Case Keenum numbers out there?
No. Yeah. I did see.
I haven't seen those, but it's not cheap to get a good backup quarterback. I wonder what the Eagles are going to do there.
Case Keenum numbers: 2 years, $6.25 million total. It's Case Keenum.
That's not awful.
$4 million guaranteed. No. He's awful. No, he's not awful. But Mike White, what did Mike White get? 2 years?
Mike White got 2 years, 16 mil.
Now, how does that happen? All right, Mike White has played.
Miami.
He's 2-5 in his career, 7 starts. I know we don't want to talk about wins and losses. 8 touchdowns, 12 interceptions in his career. Passer rating of 75.4. QBR.
Going to the Chase Daniel school of being a backup quarterback.
I mean, is there something about Mike White? I don't know. Oh, did he have an incredible career at Western Kentucky? 63 touchdowns, 15 interceptions after transferring from South Florida to Western Kentucky. I don't know. I don't get it.
Seems like a lot.
Yeah, it seems like too much. But, the Eagles don't have a backup quarterback. Gardner Minshew is a free agent, obviously. You think he comes back? What do you think the number is there? Hey, he's seeing these numbers.
He's like Mike White.
He's better than Mike White.
I would think so.
So,
yeah.
Ian Book's the only other quarterback under contract.
They need another quarterback.
They need a quarterback.
Yeah. We'll see. I think there's a chance Minshew comes back. And he falls in that bucket where I said too many words earlier, where the longer he doesn't have a job, I think the more likely it is he comes back.
What about Nick? I don't think Nick can play anymore. Foles.
I don't know if you want to do that.
Yeah, and I think Jalen wouldn't really care, but it's not an ideal situation.
I don't know if Nick can play anymore. I haven't seen him play really in a while. The player itself isn't a bad idea. It's just there's a lot there, right?
Yeah, you guys got a statue.
Yeah, it's tough.
And
I think I don't know. I wonder if he'd be okay with it.
Well, I kind of expect him to retire one of these years, but this year he had no touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's won 7 games since the Super Bowl.
But I don't know if Nick could ever play, and then he was also the greatest quarterback at Eagles. His career is so confusing to me.
Yeah, to everyone. He's won 29 games in his career, and he's got a statue. It's insane. I love Nick. He's one of my favorite guys, but yeah.
Okay. Let's end this podcast before anything else happens.
Yeah.
But take a guess, though.
What's going to happen next?
Yeah. Oh, wait. Did you want to mention the coach?
Yeah. Ronell Williams, Eagles' new
Nichols coach. Courtney Cronin reported from ESPN.
I guess that means coach nickel situations.
Well, I would think nickel backs.
Nickel backs, but yeah, I mean, kind of be in charge of nickel. I mean, because nickel is more than just, he's not going to just coach Avante.
I don't know.
I would think he would kind of oversee the nickel package.
You think?
I would think so.
I don't know. I think I've
never heard of a nickel coach.
Yeah, neither have I. But it is
Josiah
like
Scott's personal coach.
It is a really like it. People think it's you just throw a corner there, but it's a very specific job.
Right.
Has elements of corner and safety, and it kind of becomes its own thing. So
a little linebacker,
a little bit of linebacker at times. Yeah. So I don't hate it. And like if you've been following the Panthers coaching staff, have you been following that at all?
A little bit.
They've been building like the biggest coaching staff in NFL history. And I kind of like it when you're a team that has just you got a lot of money, you're flush with cash. There's no salary cap for coaches, so you can overspend there, and that's what the Panthers are doing. And I think it's a wise decision if you have the money to do it. It can help your team.
They got Josh McCown on that staff, right?
Mm-hmm. It's an enormous staff.
So what we're kind of assuming is that, you know, we know Denard Wilson left for the Ravens, and DK McDonald, who's been the assistant D-backs coach and is a Nick Sirianni favorite. He's been here the last couple of years. We're thinking he might be promoted to secondary coach, although, you know, Sean Desai will have a say in that. But we'll see. We'll see what it means. But he's a guy that he's local, right? He's from Chester County.
From Chester, yeah.
Of course, Zach Berman knew that like that.
Yeah, from Chester. Played at Westchester. Has coached before at Temple. I saw Sean Bradley tweeting about him. Loves the guy.
A lot of Temple guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think Aaron McKee might be available soon.
All right. Give me a prediction.
Next move.
Next move. Yeah.
Next guy to leave.
Or next move.
Next move. I think the Eagles will re-sign somebody tomorrow.
Okay.
I think they will re-sign. How about? I think they will re-sign Tyree Jackson. No. I think the next move. Well, I think Chauncey. I think this might kind of get Chauncey a new deal. Not here. I think that'll be the next move.
Okay. I think Isaac Seumalo will be the next one.
Yeah.
Guard money's been pretty good.
Yeah, and safety money's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Howie's got to be thinking like, I can't win here.
Yeah. You got to overpay in free agency. That's the name of the game.
Yeah. And the Eagles not only don't want to do that, they can't do it.
Yeah, they can't. All right. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. We'll be back with you later in the week at some point. When there's news, we'll talk about it. For Roob, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye.